going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and continue learning about some of the dumbest things that Americans have ever said. This is the third part in this series where people from around the world tell stories about the stupidest things that Americans have ever said to them, or about their country. Just dumb, ignorant things. This series has actually been quite eye-opening to me. I'm beginning to think there's really nothing that Americans won't say confidently in complete ignorance. It's really quite shocking and eye-opening, but I think it's good to look at it, stare it in the face. So, let's take a look. What's the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you? Part 3.
I'm kind of curious. What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Oh no.
I'm gonna do this video in English because it's so hilarious and I just want people to know. Because ironically, not many Americans know this. So I went to high school.
Oh gosh. Oh no. Am I one of them? Not many Americans know this. That category seems like it might include me.
In Florida. When I first got there, Latina, Hispanic, I don't remember if I was in a classroom or at lunch. I think it was before the class started in a classroom. And to some people, even though my English can be okay, gringos can tell I'm a foreigner. Oops.
Her English is good, but she has like an accent. But the English is very good.
So this white girl that was in front of me, she heard me talking to somebody and she asked where I was from. So I said, oh, I'm from Puerto Rico. And then she went, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Why? It must have been so harsh for you to get here as an immigrant. Not the colonizer not knowing they colonized me. No, I'm a U.S. citizen since 1917.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all by this. Like, I don't even know much about this. I know Puerto Rico is like technically a U.S. territory. Like an unincorporated U.S. territory or something technical like that. But other than that, that's how I kind of know this is a thing and what she's talking about. But I'm not surprised at all. I think the vast majority of Americans, myself included, I didn't know about this for the longest time. Certainly, like as a child or anything, they don't teach us this stuff. Or maybe we're not paying attention, but I would think the vast majority of Americans don't even think Puerto Rico has any connection to the United States at all. So I'm glad I kinda am familiar with this one, but I barely know about this myself, I have to admit.
Because Puerto Rico was invaded by the U.S. in 1898.
See, that I didn't even know. I am the ignorant American in this case as well. But at least, I know what I don't know. Does that make it a little better? Like, I didn't know anything about invading Puerto Rico or what happened, like, our history 100 years ago. And yeah, but at least I'm learning. Hey, I literally just learned it. Better late than never.
Puerto Rico's not in America. Diablo, que tipa más bestia, holy shit.
When I was last in America, this guy was like, hey man, where's your accent from? And I was like, oh, I'm British. And then he was like, British? It sounds more like Scottish or something. First of all...
Yes. It's amazing what Americans will say. Like, so confidently. That's the thing. That's the thing that makes it, intolerable. It's like, okay, everyone can be a little ignorant and a little stupid about things, but don't make it obvious like Americans do, where we're like, British? No, you're Scottish, though. You're not British. Like, the audacity to say that, that he's not British as well, while also being Scottish.
British? It sounds more like Scottish or something. First of all, my accent is very clearly English. It's not Scottish. Second, Scotland is in Great Britain, so a Scottish accent is...
I was so caught up in what he was saying. Like, as an American, I have a unique perspective on this, I think. Like, I wasn't even paying attention to his accent, and I just... He's right. His accent is like very clearly an English accent when you start paying attention. But I was even starting to say, yeah, he's Scottish, but he's also British. And then he's like, I'm English. Whoops.
It's a British accent anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm American, obviously, but I got a story for you. This one time, I was at an audition in Nashville, and I was sitting next to this pretty blonde girl. I asked her where she was from, and she said, I'm from Alabama. How about you?
All right.
Nice. I'm from Oklahoma. Huh? I'm from Oklahoma? What is that? Excuse me? What?
No. It's not possible. There's some things that I expect Americans to not know. I expect Americans don't know about Puerto Rico. I expect Americans don't know what countries are part of Great Britain. But now we got Americans that like don't know United states, like Oklahoma. Like no, man, no.
What is that? What is it? It's a state. Like in the United States? Yes. In the United States of America. I've never heard of that. I've
never heard of this. I've never heard of a story from of an American not knowing an American state. They don't teach us much growing up in geography class, but they teach us about the United States. That's what they focus on. So this is unforgivable. Unforgivable.
Ever heard of Oklahoma? No, where is that? It's like right in the middle of the country. Like right above Texas, you know? Oh. So it's next to California? That is 100% a true story.
No! You know what? She seems like maybe she's a polite, simple girl. At least she's asking questions about it. She's like, Oklahoma? What is that? Where is that? You know? At least she's not denying. At least she's not saying Oklahoma doesn't exist or something. Which would somehow make it a lot worse.
Canadian here. Right after I moved to America, I went to the Social Security office so that I could apply for a Social Security number so that I could work in America.
Yeah.
I went up to the little kiosk and I punched in that I was applying for my very first Social Security number. And the man who was working there said, "Excuse me, ma'am, you're going to want to punch in that you're applying for a replacement card, not a new number." And
this is already, I'm so bad. Like I'm nervous about this one because it's someone who works in a U.S. government agency, a U.S. government building. That person working there doesn't even know like what a Canadian is. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me?
I said, "No, sir, I don't have a Social Security number. I am applying for the first time." Right. And he said, "And you're an American?" And I said, "No, sir, I actually just moved here from Canada just a couple of weeks ago."
Right.
And he said this.
No!
"Ma'am, I have to say, your English is amazing." Yeah.
Some of these stories are just kind of funny where it seems like these Americans are just kind of like simple, ignorant, like, but not meaning any harm. Like, that's just funny. That's just like, your English is incredible. Like, your native language is Canadian. You speak Canadian and you also speak English very well. Like, that's just funny. Like, but yeah, nothing surprises me anymore with these. Like, that's unbelievable.
After learning my name, people like to ask me where I'm from. And I tell them.
Okay.
I'm from Czech Republic. And then they ask, what do I speak? And so I tell them, I speak Czech. And then they ask me.
Talk about a flawless English like American English accent. From someone from the Czech Republic who speaks Czech. She has an amazing, like, her English is incredible.
Oh. So you speak Russian? So are you Russian?
Oh.
Czechoslovakia, that's a part of Russia. So
What?
you're Russian. So you grew...
Why? I don't know. Why do Americans say that? Why? I've never like thought the Czech Republic is like a part of Russia. Is there something about their history that I don't know that would confuse people about this? What's with this assumption?
Grew up in the USSR. You're Russian. Do you speak Russian? Do you speak Russian? Do you speak Russian? Do you speak Russian? Говоришь по-русски. Oh yeah, that's right. You must be Russian. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Wrong country, wrong language, and the wrong country.
What? That's so weird to me. Like, also, again, this also boils back to my main point, where it's these Americans, like, so confidently, like, forcing their opinion on you. Like, you're from the Czech Republic. You're Russian. Like, why not even phrase it as a question? You know, something a little more approachable or a little more innocent. Like, oh, is that part of Russia? Do you speak Russian? I don't know. I'm not familiar with this. Instead, it's just like the accusations, the hostility, and the ignorance. That's what makes it, like, extra bad.
So I'm gonna just preface this and say I'm from Canada, right? And the one time I ever went to Los Angeles, California, I was somewhere around Santa Monica Beach with my family, and I went to a skate shop, and I bought myself a skate deck. And when I told the dude who was working there, who sold me the deck, when I told him I was Canadian, his response, like his mouth dropped, and he was like, "You can skateboard in snow?" And I laughed and said, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, it's a frozen wasteland there, isn't it?" And it's like, "No, it's..."
This is amazing, because it's also amazing how many stereotypes Americans have of other countries. One guy didn't know Canadians speak English. This person literally thinks because Canada has, like, more snow or slightly more intense winter, depending on where you live, a lot of Americans have this super overamped stereotype of Canada that it's all like a frozen wasteland, frozen with igloos and winter all year, forever. And the fact that this grown adult is expressing a genuine surprise. Again, it's amusing in a way. It's sad. Like, all of these are very sad. Like, just displaying how little Americans know about other countries. Even Canada, which is literally next to us, we don't know about. But at the same time, it's kind of funny.
It's sunny, and like there's only snow for 85% of the year. The other 15%, you can skateboard like nothing, right? And he's like, "Oh, well, if it isn't snowy all the time, how do you live in igloos?"
Now that I can't believe there's actually Americans who believe, like, Canadians live in igloos. All Canadians live in igloos. Although I remember growing up, somehow, like, little child version of me thought that. Like, that is a stereotype Americans have and perpetuate. And then we grow into full adults, and sometimes still don't know any better. Oh, boy. Oh, no.
I'm not lying at all.
So I'm from Germany, but I've lived in Switzerland for my entire life until 2015, when my family moved to the US. And I spent 2 years living there, so I've heard a lot of dumb shit, but here's the worst of it.
Oh, boy.
So one time I was with a group of people, and I was on the phone with my friend in Germany, and when we hung up, I said, "Good night, sleep well." And this guy is like, so he goes, "Why is she going to bed? It's like 3 p.m. And so I had to explain that because she's in Germany, she's 6 hours ahead because of time zones. And he looks really confused, like,
what? Now it's Americans that don't understand the concept of time zones, don't understand the concept of the sun moving around the earth. Where did we go wrong? Where did we go so wrong in our American education? That's all I can point to. I don't know what else to point the finger at. Like, somewhere along the line, we just stopped, like, making sure that American kids knew about geography and maps and the world and the solar system? I don't know. I don't know.
And then he asked me if Germany is 6 hours ahead, why did nobody ever warn them about 9/11 happening? This guy literally thought that time zones meant that you could time travel.
This guy's mind was blown. He was like, this means I can travel through time. I mean, it is funny. Can't you actually take an airplane and you can go back to the quote-unquote previous day, like if you travel in a certain direction. Like I know, so in that sense, it's almost like time travel. I'm turning into this guy now.
Once I was sitting in a bar in Atlanta, and this man kept calling me an Arab.
Oh.
And like I didn't know what an Arab was because Americans can't pronounce shit, man. And so like I was just staring at him like, what is this dude saying? And I was like, I don't understand your accent.
And I don't know how he was even saying that to her. Usually when Americans like it usually means that Americans aren't being particularly nice. Like if you're like, are you an Arab? Like that's like the stereotypical way you'd hear that, and that pronunciation, not Arab as a lot of Americans say, but Arab, usually in a derogatory way. So I'm actually real curious about the manner in which this person was talking to her.
And my American friend said to me, he's calling you an Arab. And I was like, oh. And I turned around and I went, dude, no, I'm Pakistani. This one isn't about me being brown. This one is about me being English. So I was out with my friends at this pizza place, I think. And some dude came over and he was a friend of my friend. And he was like, do you guys have pizza in the UK? Like seriously, do we have pizza? Like, no.
That's not the worst question that's been in this whole video, right? Not the worst question. There's been a lot more like hurtful, harmful, ignorant questions. Then, do you have pizza in the UK? You know what? I'm okay with that question. I'm okay with it.
Even sarcastic. And I was like, oh, they banned pizza in the 80s because the Queen choked on some pizza. And, so now you can only buy pizza on the black market, and it's really hard because...
Good. You might as well have a little fun with the Americans.
It's like, you don't know the kind of quality they put in the cheese. Sometimes it's, rat milk, and the vegetables are,
oh my God.
They come from, the trash. And he was like, shit, man, England is rough. Yeah, don't even have pizza.
That's funny. This poor guy probably thinks that to this day. Probably tells people that story. And then other Americans are believing him just because she's the reason if this ever becomes a national news story in America that pizza is banned in the UK. It's her fault for starting this with the first gullible American.
So some basic biatch in Costco looked at me and said, go back to your own country. I was with my mom who wears a headscarf.
What?
And I was like, honey, I have no accent. And I know there are 50 states in this greater America. Do you know that? Do you?
That's it. It's amazing. It's amazing. You hear that, stereotype, an American stereotype of the Americans saying, go back to your country. But, part of me wants to, desperately believe that that's not as prevalent as it sounds. And so it really is sad when I hear about these actual situations where this kind of thing really happens in real life. I'm in a position where I'm never the target of any derogatory remarks like this. So I think it's good for me, actually, to hear about this and know that this is a real thing that exists. And yeah, it just kind of makes me sad to know that people actually get told in America, go back to your own country. That's horrible. It's horrible.
You know that? Have you written 2 novels, honey? Can you spell tsunami? T-S-U-N-A-M-I. Tsunami, bitch. I mean, give me a break. When you look at...
what a response. What a response. Oh my God.
Foreigners and immigrants in this country and say, go back to your own country. Honey, we speak better English than you do, and we have more degrees, counted degrees, than you can ever get. You basic American from Idaho. Eat your potato.
This person he met in the grocery store or whatever probably like started crying by the time he was done with them.
And shut your mouth.
I'd like to buy this 6-pack of beer, please. Cool, I'll just need to see your ID. Here you go. I can't take that. You can't take my passport? It's not a valid form of ID. You gotta have American ID to buy alcohol in America.
Oh my God. I'm not shocked at this though. Because in America, it's not as common as you would think for people to get a passport. A lot of Americans don't even travel outside the United States. That might have something to do with explaining why we know so little about the rest of the world. A lot of Americans don't even get their passport. A lot of Americans have never seen one or held one. So I'm actually not that surprised that this would happen. That there's Americans that would be like, oh, this isn't ID. This isn't what I'm... Because we usually think of ID as a driver's license, a little card. And so passport, like a lot of Americans don't even probably know like what it looks like.
It's an American passport. It says my birthplace is Tennessee. You gotta get an American passport to come to America. Everybody knows that. You know that because you have one. That's not true at all. If you're such an American, why can't you just give me your driver's license? Because my wallet got stolen.
And you don't need a driver, like, they don't get to... the person at the register doesn't get to make you use a certain form of ID. That's a valid government ID. Passport or a driver's license. You get to pick. They can't just be like, I don't like this. Show me another. Like, that's not... You can't do that.
And even if I did have that, you can take a passport.
Yes.
Let me go ask my manager if she'll make an exception.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, what seems to be the problem here?
No, it keeps
Your cashier
going.
won't let me use my passport as identification to buy beer. Yeah, you gotta have an American ID to buy alcohol in America. But that's really cool, though. I've never seen a passport before.
This would be infuriating. This is the type of American ignorance where it actually affects you in a really material way. You're trying to buy some beer. Very important stuff. This actually affects you, whereas a lot of the other stuff is just kind of hurtful and like, which does affect you. But this is like stopping you from buying something as well. The ignorance just knows no bounds. Not even the beer is off limits.
Where are you from? Here!
Do you have Christmas?
It's funny some of these stories are Americans' interactions with Americans. Even Americans have trouble with ignorant Americans. You know, it never ends.
In Ireland? Yes, we do.
Okay, what is this?
Here!
Do you have Christmas in Ireland? Yes, we do.
Okay.
Do you have Thanksgiving in Ireland? No, we don't. Do you have Halloween in Ireland? We invented the fucking thing.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Like, see, this is where you just gotta have some patience with the Americans. If we're just gonna ask you stupid questions, and but this guy was just over it. I didn't know that actually about Halloween.
No, we don't. Do you have Halloween in Ireland? We invented the fucking thing.
I have made a video before about the dummy dumb shit Americans have said to me since moving here.
Okay.
And almost every single day, especially when I would work at the movie theatre, I would get people coming up to me, just staring and being like, I didn't know there were black people from England. Like, okay, keep that shit to yourself. That's embarrassing.
It's exactly. That's the way to put it. Some things are just best left unsaid. Just don't say it. Just don't say it.
So let's set the scene. It's early July and I'm in Marrakesh.
Okay.
I've just checked into this hostel and I'm sitting on one of these chairs here by the pool. So this young couple from Georgia sparks up a conversation with me. So the couple invite me up to like the roof, this like roof patio thing to see the fireworks.
Wow.
So we end up on the roof terrace here, mingling with various nationalities.
Okay.
And the Americans are asking, like, does anyone know when the fireworks start?
Oh, boy.
Everyone's a bit confused. Anyway, it transpires that it is the 4th of July, American Independence Day.
Yes.
We're in Morocco. There's maybe like 10 of us all trying to explain to this American couple why they probably don't have fireworks for the 4th of July in Marrakesh, Morocco.
No. This is the typical American, the rest of the world is just like America. Obviously, right? It must be. That way of thinking is a very common way of thinking in America, I'm afraid. That, the rest of the world is like America. Because Americans really don't get out. A lot of Americans, like I was saying, don't get out and see the rest of the world or bother to learn about the rest of the world, you know? It's very true. They think everyone celebrates American Independence Day. What? It doesn't even make sense. If you think about it, even. You don't have to know that much about other countries to just think for a second. Maybe Americans aren't too good at that either.
Okay. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Stay tuned for more.
Oh, there we have it. Okay, we got through it. It's always a little painful getting through these, but I think it's actually kind of good for me and other Americans to just be aware of what Americans are capable of saying. See if we can escape the American way. So this was by TikTok Reacts. I got to give this video a like because it was very entertaining. There were some funny things here. But there's genuinely hurtful things that are said, genuinely nasty or hurtful or mean things. Definitely ignorant things said. That's for sure. And some of it just kind of funny. So I enjoyed this for those reasons. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, perhaps about anything we saw here, some of the dumbest things Americans have ever said. That'd be interesting to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.